How do you think about who has the right to this land?
Well, I live on a farm, and I'd never met somebody who was Jewish until I was 18 when I went to university. So I came to the whole question of Israel and Jewish late in life. As a high school student, I didn't know much about it. But so my point is, I tried to look at it from the beginning as a historian. I was a classics major historian, and when I hear these issues come up, I always ask, what is the status globally or historically? So we take refugees, and I heard refugees, refugees, refugees. So I said, when were these refugees? When were they forced out of Israel during these wars in 47 to 49? And I think, are all people who were forced out refugees? So are the Jews called, as I said earlier, are they refugees that were expelled from the Middle East cities? No. Then I say to myself, after the acrimony and hatred that followed World War II, there were 13 million East Prussian Germans, Sudetenland Germans, who, for understandable reasons, because of the atrocities in Poland and stuff, they were completely ethnically cleansed from Eastern Europe, which had been German. East Prussia had been German since the 12th century, or German-speaking. And so where did they go? They went back to Germany. Do they dangle the keys and say, this is my home in Danzig, and it's not really Gdansk, that it's occupied by Poland? Or I say to myself, Ukraine is in the news. Well, 1/3 of Western Ukraine was Polish-speaking and Roman Catholic for 1,000 years, until Joseph Stalin, along with Hitler, invaded 1939 and destroyed Poland. And as part of the spoils, Stalin grabbed what is now Western Ukraine and declared it the Ukrainian province of the Soviet Union, Western Ukraine. And he wouldn't give it up, even when he flipped sides and joined us. Are those people in Poland who had homes in Ukraine? And part of it was the compensation for Germans that were expelled from Poland. Poland was given parts of East Prussia because they lost parts to Ukraine. Or I lived in Greece. I visited Cyprus in 1973. The war in 74. There were 200,000 Greek Cypriots that were forcibly removed from northern Cyprus by Turkish Islamic armies, if you will. Are they refugees today? I could go on, but the point I'm making is that refugees seems to be only uniquely applied as a rubric to Palestinian. And then I look at proportionality, that Israel's got to be proportionate when it responds. I have not heard that word yet with Ukraine. When it responds to Russia, do they say, Russia took out an apartment building, you took out a bridge in Crimea, was that proportionate? Or collateral damage? Did anybody in the world tell the United States when we went in, and I was embedded in Iraq on 2 occasions, and I did go to Mosul before the siege, but I did go to Fallujah afterwards. No one said to the Americans, you have to be both proportionate and you have to avoid all collateral damage. We tried to, but it was impossible, since ISIS and Ba'athist and Saddamites were deeply burrowed in. And if you looked at Fallujah, looked pretty much what Gaza City looks like today. I don't hear anybody was lecturing. So I could go on, but all of these hot button terms, settler. What does that mean? Does that mean that the Ottoman Empire settled in the Middle East? Does that mean that Arab armies swept through Berber population and Phoenician populations in North Africa, and today are not the indigenous people of North Africa? The indigenous people are those who were Berbers. They were pre-Muslim and they were not Arab. Does that mean southern Spain was occupied for 400 years by Islamic settlers? And so I find all of these things disproportionate, to use their word. And I ask myself, why is that? And that is that I think we apply a certain status or a special case. Israel becomes a special case. And I don't know whether that's a history of anti-Semitism or it's a westernized country in the middle of a 500 million person Muslim, Arab, Middle East, or it's enormously successful with a GDP that is only rivaled by the petroleum-fed revenues of the Gulf states. But I don't know what it is. But when I'm on the Stanford campus and I see people protesting, every once in a while they'll come up to you and try to offer you a pamphlet. When I ask them these questions, I have never gotten an answer. I don't hear it in any of the protests. I don't hear, even at the professorial level, I don't hear why their concern about refugees or proportionality or collateral damage doesn't extend to everything. And when I see Vladimir Putin saying that the United States is responsible for unleashing Israel, I ask myself, does anybody care that he leveled Grozny and killed over 100,000 Chechnyan Muslim? When China weighs in, does anybody say they have a 1 million Uyghur Muslims in forced labor camps? Does anybody in the Middle East care? So I don't quite understand the asymmetry is what I'm trying to say.